Thank you, Presiding Officer. It's a privilege to be able to speak in this important debate today. And that's a phrase we hear often. But today, I'm also a bit ashamed of that privilege. The international outcry and protest following the murder of George Floyd at the hands of the police, those who should have been his protectors, reminds me and everyone in this chamber that our privilege is at the expense of the rights and opportunities denied to others because we live in an unequal and unfair society. I would like to thank Councillor Graham Campbell for giving me the opportunity to sit in on a call on Monday evening with contributors from the BAME community in Scotland who told us their lived experiences of racism here in our communities. It was harrowing, it was disappointing and hard to hear because it meant that I have failed that community. We all have. And it's by not doing enough to tackle racism, to take that action that Anna Sarwar was talking about. They asked us to listen, they asked us to understand, but most importantly, they asked us to act. For me, the most shocking revelation was that the casual name-calling, the street abuse, the actions that were described by Brian Whittle so passionately earlier on, that overt, easily recognising racism was to be expected. I found that chilling. But what caused most harm and frustration to those on that call was the systemic institutional racism, the racism born of privilege and unconscious bias that hurt them the most. More than one family had had to change the school that their children attended because they saw lack of understanding and support when their children were subjected to racial abuse. Appalling behaviour in itself, but the failure of the schools and the education authorities to address this adequately was devastating for these families. And the experience of people whose isolation and uniqueness in the workplace or on boards made them feel like tokens, and their contribution and value be a tick box exercise. Again, and I spoke of this, I had it down to say just Google CEOs and then Google diversity officers, and it's laid bare in the images that appear. Workloads and caseloads being distributed not on professional expertise, but on association through race to a client group. Presiding Officer, we need to do better and we need to take action now. I was very reluctant to say anything about my own experience today because this isn't about me, it isn't about where I am in our society, but I do want to share an experience that showed me some of the possibilities from another country's endeavours in recognising the appalling acts perpetrated on minorities in its recent history. I attended a visit to Canada with the Presiding Officer, and we visited the legislature in Winnipeg, and also were given a tour of the Canadian Museum of Human Rights. And I know this is something that has been asked for, a museum that recognises our history. Its goals include fostering an appreciation of the importance of human rights, spurred from informed dialogue. It invites participants to identify the contemporary relevance of past and present human rights events, both at home and abroad. It exemplifies the Canadians' commitment to freedom and democracy and aims to ignite informed, ever-evolving global, in our evolving global world, our understanding, and it seeks to have a credible and balanced learning resource. It was a profound experience to visit that museum, very much so because man's inhumanity to man is laid bare, and we have to examine it and to see all the genocides of the world on the one floor, from Rwanda, Srebrenica, the Holocaust, the Holodomor, not even recognised yet as a genocide by the UK government. All of these together fills you with a sense of despair at the human condition. But the museum is more, and it has some themes that I think we should take forward in whatever action and whatever we decide to do as a community with consultation to address the issues in our own society. It's about witness. It's about that lived experience, the capturing of the stories, the accurate first-hand experience of ethnic minorities. It's about truth. It's about the acceptance of the true horror of what our past has been and the detriment that that has been to certain communities. Biggest part, it's about education. It had so many tools to address othering behaviours that we all have, unconscious bias, for young children, for older children. There was even an opportunity to take part in civil rights court cases examining what had happened in Canada. Excellent examples of how we can educate and reconciliation. But we do things differently in Scotland. We have a National Theatre of Scotland without walls. And if we are to build a museum, I want it to be a museum without walls, because we have to take this message into every community, into every school, and whatever we take forward has to be accessible throughout Scotland to everyone. It's the 21st century, it's the Internet of Things. Let's not replace plaques, let's replace them with interactive information and signposting to the history of our streets. Let's develop maps that tell that story, that history. Let's move forward and take that action so that we can truly say that we have listened and Black Lives Matter. Thank you very much, President.